Hello everyone, and welcome to this video, which is a tribute to the Scottish player Graham Morrison, who unfortunately died very recently at the age of 65. Graham was a strong player, was Scottish champion in 1981, I believe, and also represented Scotland internationally on several occasions. I didn't know Graham very well, but he was one of those players that you always saw at the 4NCL. You know, it's part of that kind of family community feeling that you have at the 4NCL, that there's a lot of people that you see all the time, and it just feels safe and happy, you know, to see familiar faces all the time. And it's just very sad when you know, as time goes by, people start to disappear. Now, I actually played Graham in 2018 in a Barbican against Guildford match. I had black, and it was a tremendously exciting game. Now, it's a bit strange in a way, I guess, to do a tribute with a game that Graham lost, but I think you'll agree after seeing the game that, I mean, Graham played absolutely beautifully, really creatively, with enormous attacking flair. And it was only a late mistake, I think, with, you know, born out of ambition to really play for the full point that robbed him of the deserved half point. It was a tremendously exciting game, and tremendous credit to Graham for the way that he played. And I've wanted to show this game to you for a long time. So this seemed like a good opportunity. So let's have a look how we got this position. So Graham started off with 1d4. Now, I don't know whether you're familiar with the 4NCL, but the way that it goes is that, you know, about an hour and a half before the game starts, you get the pairings. And I wasn't really sure who I was going to play. And I saw that I was playing Graham. I just had a very quick look at his games and just prepared a few things quickly. And my impression, I seem to remember that my impression of Graham's play was that he was a good player, solid player, you know, and I don't think that I was expecting 1d4, you know, so I was caught a little bit by surprise, and I was expecting some pretty solid play. So a little bit caught by surprise. I probably didn't choose the best opening to play. You know, obviously, as a Guildford team, we were really looking to maximise our score against the weaker Barbican team. It was always needed, board points, for the final standings. I played the very solid Ragazin defence, which is a lovely opening, fantastic. AlphaZero's favourite, and of recent engines, it's also Torch's favourite against 1d4. Very good opening, but it's really, really solid. And bearing in mind how impressed I was with Graham's solidity and his nice contained and controlled play, I started to think, oh my goodness, I'm not sure this was really the right opening against him. So we're following this main line, and this is all very nice for white. Actually, we're following a number of Stockfish AlphaZero games, and I was spending a reasonable amount of time here, and I was sort of really kind of trying to convince myself that I was going to be able to play this line, for a win against a player of Graham's quality, because it's very, very even, and white actually now has possibility, which is what Stockfish always did against AlphaZero, which was to play the move Queen C5 and swap off the queens, and black's got the two bishops, but white's got a bit more space, a little bit of pressure against the queen side. You know, it's not going to be an easy position to win for black. So I was spending a lot of time on that, and I just mentioned that because I think that really will give a sense of how shocked I was by what suddenly started happening to me, because Graham played incredibly aggressively here. So he played the move Queen E5, which is quite interesting. So just keeping the queens on, hitting the bishop on A5. So I played the move Bishop B6, just covering C5, so this move Queen C5 isn't possible anymore, so I was thinking, oh well, I've avoided the exchange of queens at least. And then Rook FD1 was played, Knight C6, Queen H5, and I played the move Bishop D7. And yeah, I mean, I was looking at all sorts of lines. I was expecting exchanges again, stuff like knight e5, for example. Again, just with this idea that I had in my head that Graham was a solid player who, just kept things tight at the back. So I was, you can imagine my shock, and very mixed feelings somehow when Graham whipped out the move g4. He played it very quickly as well. I mean, on the one hand, I was thinking, oh wow, we've got a fight, that's great. On the other hand, I was thinking, oh god, this looks really, really dangerous somehow. I mean, the key point is that Black's pieces have minor pieces have kind of gravitated away to the queen side. So actually, this move g4, just looking for g5, exposing the Black king side, is very logical, and it's very, very dangerous. It's actually rather scary. So yeah, I mean, I spent a fair amount of time and decided that the best move I had was to play the move knight a5. So I'm attacking this one. I'm trying to swap off the light square bishop, and I'm trying to get the bishop round to c6 to attack the knight on e4. And I sort of thought that that this was going to be quite reasonable for Black. I might even have a move like bishop a4 just to hit the rook, force the exchange of rooks, and hopefully, yeah, maybe I've got some chances with the exposed white king now that white's played g4. So this has been played before actually, and that game went bishop b5, which was also what Stockfish and Torch play against each other. And the position was pretty even after takes, rook d1, rook d1, rook d8. That's how the Grandmaster games went, and also how Torch against Stockfish went. So that was possible, and I'm not quite sure what I was intending to do against that. But Graham followed up his move g4 with the incredible rook takes d7. I mean, I was completely shocked. That just came like a bolt out of the blue, for me. And I think I was walking around, or I'd gone to the toilet, and came back and just trying to work out what was on d7. It was a bishop. This is an exchange sacrifice. But it's actually, a very, very interesting positional long-term sacrifice, the sort of thing you'd see AlphaZero playing. Simply, you're getting rid of this bishop. So, and that was the bishop that was going to come to c6, attack the knight on e4, going to come to a4. That was the bishop that I was going to use in order to sow confusion in white's attacking structure. So rook d7 is just removing that, and of course, with rook d7 as well, these light squares are going to get weak, and when you go g5, if you get a knight into g5, then without the light square bishop to protect them, well, this is going to be pretty dangerous, right? So yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a shock, and I sort of had to decide, do I want to take back quickly and then see what he's going to do, or do I want to spend some time and think? And I think I took the decision to spend some time and think, and that probably was quite a wise decision, because in general, White's next move is going to be bishop a2. That bishop's going to retreat most likely out of the attack of the knight. And then afterwards, I'm going to have to find a move, So it was a good idea to try and think of that. I can't really, piece together what I thought. I mean, I played rook takes d7, and that seemed to me, I think, to be the only move that was worth playing, because after queen d7, knight e5. Well, I mean, I'd probably have to play queen e7 again. And I was sort of thinking, well, I could have this position with the rook on d7, or with or have it with me to move, or have played rook d8 already. That just didn't really seem like a great choice. This was actually played by Torch as Black, and the engines thought that this was fairly good. The idea is that after bishop a2, Black wants to play knight c6 immediately, just to try and exchange off that knight. So actually the best is to go knight f3 for white, and then to go g5. And well, Torch's defensive idea here is to go a4 takes and rook a5. That's the best defense. But, well, I mean, this doesn't look remotely clear to me now, I have to say. And yeah, I mean, not so easy to decide on this sort of course of action. I mean, what I decided to do was that I was going to go for counterplay. I was very nervous about the white pieces massing against my my king side, and I wasn't really confident about just sitting there and taking it. So I decided that I was going to go for counterplay, and I think what I did was sensible from a human point of view, even if it wasn't maybe the very best. Although this is also played by Stockfish and Torch as well, not just Queen takes d7. So what I did was, after rook d7, bishop retreats to a2, and now rook c7. And after rook takes c7, I played queen takes c7, and this was my big idea. I was looking for counterplay here, you know, having queen c1, maybe queen c2. You know, you're sort of thinking, could I come round here and then come back to the king side somehow, you know, just sweep round to the king side like that. Also very Stockfishy, actually, that sort of thing. Actually, the engines say that it's 0.00 after queen c7. What they wanted was to play the move bishop c7, and then once again after g5 you go knight c6, and basically you just try and hang in there. If you go g takes h6, you go g6, and if you go g6, then you go knight d8, which, to be honest, is really, really scary. I'm actually seem to remember that I looked at stuff like this and I was kind of getting really worried about moves like knight eg5, for example, you know, which seemed very, very worrying. Of course, you know, if I go h takes g5 here, then queen h7 takes and queen h8 is mate, and white's threatening to go g takes f7 and have stuff like bishop e6 as well. So, you know, well, apparently the engine says you can just go f6 takes and absorb it like this. You know, fair enough, but still, you know, this position doesn't look particularly simple or obvious to me, and yeah, you know, it's obviously quite scary and difficult to calculate. So, I mean, what I went for queen takes c7. I was looking for that counterplay, and Graham played g5. And well, now I followed up with my big idea, which I was very proud about. But for the engines now, it's just, you know, everything's 0.00. Well, not everything, but knight c6 is 0.00. I mean, what's the point of bringing the knight back? It covers the e5 square, so white doesn't get knight e5. But the engines think now that, you know, by now this is just equal. So we go check, and then we come in here, and we're threatening all sorts of things as well. You know, this is tremendously scary, I have to say. So I wouldn't fancy that at all, even if the engine says that he can draw it. And yeah, h takes g5, knight fg5 is just winning for white. This is just too dangerous. If you go queen d7, just you know, trying to hold things together, you've got moves like knight d6. You know, and obviously takes. I've got queen f7, which is going to be mate. But my idea here was quite clever, actually, was to play knight c4. What's the point of knight c4? The point is that if you go g takes h6, then I've got this move knight takes e3. I'm threatening queen c1, which is going to lead to checkmate, because the knight's covering the g2 square. And if you take on here, then what was I planning to do? I think I was just planning to take on e3 and then take on h6 afterwards, maybe after a few extra little checks. And yeah, I mean, I thought this was just going to cover the my king side properly. I'm going to have two pawns and a rook for two pieces, but if the white king's exposed and I've got some good checks, you know, could be just curtains for white. And yeah, the engines think that's very, very strong indeed. So Graham took on c4 here, and I played queen takes c4, and now he played a move that yeah, I'd seen, but you know, I just couldn't. I couldn't believe that it was going to be fine. You know, he played knight e5, so just offering this this knight on e4. And he was playing pretty quickly. You know, it was really quite shocking somehow. So knight e5. He's hitting my queen, and he's attacking the pawn f7 as well. I mean, if I go queen c7. Then, well, white's got a number of things. I think, was it even knight f6 check that was winning? Something like that, anyway. I have to take the knight on e4. I've got to get rid of some attacking pieces there. But white plays queen takes f7 check, king h8, and now queen takes e6. And I remember looking at this and suddenly, you know, not only being worried about, oh my god, is this going to be a draw, but even thinking, oh, do I even have a draw actually? Because, you know, white's just threatening, well, first of all, white's threatening the move knight f7 check, you know, hitting the queen. So I've got to find something about that. But the next threat that white's got is to go g6, just to pin that king onto the corner. And then you're going to have, you know, knight f7, knight h6, and this smothered mate with queen g8 and knight f7 afterwards, you know, the good old standard. So, you know, I was getting seriously worried, you know, and I was wondering, you know, am I going to have to take a draw by repetition here? You know, I sort of thought that probably this would be it would be too tricky for white to try and avoid this draw by repetition. You know, if the king moves up, then I can start hitting it in all sorts of ways. But obviously, yeah, you know, I did also want to want to try somehow, you know, to make something of this position. But I was seriously worried. I mean, I was really worried that I was just going to mess it up completely. What I did in the end was I played queen b1 check, king g2, and then I played bishop takes e3, which was quite a nice idea. What's the plan? The plan is after fe3 I go queen e4 check, and so white plays king f2, I go queen h4 check. I've got, you know, quite a few ways of doing stuff. The big idea is if the white king tries to remain on the f1 square, I can play rook f8 check, knight f7 and king g8. And yeah, I mean, the key point is there that because you're pinned, you won't be able to do any discovered attacks. So, you know, I'm going to be able to get a few things together there. For example, g6, I go queen f6 and I just force your queen away. So, and also swap of the queens in this specific position because the king's on the f file. So that was the idea, basically. Expose the king, and then the checks are a lot more awkward to hide the king and keep all your attacking possibilities. But Graham, cool as a cucumber, played the move g6. And yeah, I was definitely sweating there, just you know, hoping that I'd calculated right, because I'm now yeah, in rather risky territory here. So I mean, if black just plays a random move like queen b2, for example, then you just go knight f7, king there, knight h6 check, king f8, queen f7 is mate, and king h8, queen g8 here, and knight f7 is a beautiful smothered mate. So I can't allow that. So I went the move queen e4 check, and well, actually, you know, white's got a choice of lines really if you want to make a draw here. So king f1 is a draw. For example, I probably play the move queen f4 here, threatening queen f2 check, and then we just go here and check, which is going to be a draw. If I go king f8, then knight h7 check is mate, and if I go king h8, then we've just got knight f7 with repetition. There's also the move king h3 here as well, which is also drawing. I do the same, something like queen f4, and then we just check, 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 and it's a draw. So that was really possible, but I think here that Graham decided that he actually had the chance of a win, which is certainly not a silly thought at all. It's a very sensible thought. But I've got something, yeah, rather cunning and easy to miss, and Graham just miscalculated somewhere, because he played the winning attempt f3. So I played queen c2 check, and he went up to g3. So, you know, really going for it here. But here I've got a very unpleasant idea here. I can play the move bishop f2 check. Now, what's the point of that move? The point of playing bishop f2 check, obviously if you go king g2, then I go bishop d4. But if you go to g4 or to h3, I've got the unexpected queen c8, which is pinning the queen to the king there. And after knight f7, king g8, obviously knight d6 check would be great, but it allows queen takes e6 check. And if white plays knight g5 check, then it's not king f8, knight h7 checkmate. It's queen takes e6 check, of course. So yeah, white has to go up along dark squares there, but now you can imagine that, yeah, you know, black's just getting an awful lot of checks here. Oh, actually I went to c1. King e4, play queen e3 check, the king goes up to f5, but now I get this trick rook f8 check, and after knight f7 check I just go king g8, and well, I'm threatening the exchange of queens. You can't discover the check because you're pinned, and well, there's not actually a great chance for the king to get out alive, really. And where is the queen even going? For example, if queen d5, I've even got the very evil queen g5 check because the knight on f7 is pinned, so just swapping off the queens there. So I think in this position Graham resigned. It was a hell of a fight, and just that one moment of ambition actually, where Graham was really going for the win, and avoiding a number of ways of just making a draw. That proved costly in the end, but I mean, an amazing game. I was really so utterly shocked by so many of the moves, and they're so good. Rook takes d7. This exchange sacrifice, first of all, g4 to start off the attack, and then this great idea, just sacking a whole rook there. I was really you have those games sometimes where you're supposed to be the high-rated opponent, but your opponent is the one making all the running, finding all the brilliant moves, and you're just desperately surviving. I felt very, very lucky indeed to escape there with a win, because White's place certainly deserved a draw or more. So there we are. I hope you enjoyed that game. Just a little tribute to the Scottish player Graham Morrison, who died aged 65 a few days ago. Thoughts to Lynn, his wife, and to his family, and it's life, that people pass away, but it's also one of the beautiful things about chess, that it's very easy to remember people by playing through their games and seeing the brilliant things that they did. So rest in peace, Graham, and not forgotten. There we are. Hope you enjoyed that game. Stay tuned on this channel for lots more stuff, with engines, without engines, and all great chess. Thanks very much for watching.